Sundays. So yes. And this is titled Character or Conditions? Question mark.
Right. And we found some support for our understanding of conditionality, which I think, Nelly, you might agree, we tend to look for when we're reading articles, when we're listening to podcasts. We tend to look.
Totally. Totally. I guess that's not an uncommon thing. We look for things that confirm our perspectives and understanding. Yeah.
Right, right. So the quote that we're going to jump off with this morning is from Julie Diamond. And she's in the Portland area, and she has written um, uh, many articles, books, courses on power and power dynamics.
So here's the quote. So the question about character is a question about conditions. How do we create conditions that enable beneficial, ethical choices, the good use of power? And we all build those conditions every day through the small life decisions over and over again. We are creating an environment that either allows good character to surface or makes it very hard to. Continue on, Linda.
Even though we're living through a time when bad character is being rewarded, I believe, this is Julie, and research supports this, that most people, given the right conditions, will choose integrity because they're human, and most humans, when the environment makes it possible, prefer to feel good about what they're doing.
Could even apply that to cats and dogs, but we won't go there now. We'll stick with the humans since that's who we're teaching. Okay, so I think that was an important sentence, a point that um, Linda made, that research supports the understanding that most people will choose integrity given the right conditions. So this is research backed, and maybe later in the week we'll quote a bit of this research. But on the flip side, it supports that, quote, the wrong environment. People lose track of what has integrity. Point being, we're heavily influenced by our environment. In other words, putting through the lens of conditionality, our environment is has potent conditions.
Mhm.
Environment and our past, present, and even imagined, or maybe especially imagined futures.
Right. And that was interesting to find research that supported both of those directions. And like Nellie said, we'll bring a few of them into our talks this week. And in our environment, I also think it was interesting to see that behavioral ethicists, people who are studying our behavior, um, they have found that we people generally strive to maintain a positive moral self-image. That in general, in these environments, we're trying to be good people, have some virtue, go in a positive, wholesome direction, and that we want to think of ourselves as honest, fair, decent.
And
But here's the, go ahead. You're
oh,
not, are
I
you
was
at the
just
but?
saying, no, I was not going to do it, but I was going to do an and.
Okay.
And most religions have ethics, embedded in them, but there's bad players in all everywhere. And
Yeah.
again, maybe they're not bad players. That's interesting that I use that line because it contradicts what we're teaching. They play badly, but they're not bad players. Um,
Well, yeah, well, this is where it's often gone to is it's not like a bad apple. It's like looking at the system also.
right.
Like the system is another way to talk about, I think, the conditions, that there are going to be people that, hurt you in the sandbox, whether it's intentional or not, whether it's their character or conditions, that's what we're exploring.
Which does remind me of the kid in kindergarten I'll never forget, who knocked over everybody's blocks, and I was so afraid of him.
Yeah. I remember him from you telling me. That's how that's how
Yeah.
strong this is and how long it can continue.
Right. It's a long time.
A long time. Yeah. Um,
Ridiculous.
um, so some of these ethical lapses, and I think this is another interesting way to look at our ethical lapses, other people's lapses. They're not necessarily because people want to be unethical. There's circumstances that I don't know what the kid in kindergarten at that time, that's a whole other thing, but there's
Never know.
rationalization. There's, putting off or diffusion of the responsibility. Nobody knows who responsible is, and you're taking actions kind of in a vacuum. And then there's also conflicting incentives. Um, so these are like the underlying causes that we can explore more deeply of why somebody would take unethical action.
Right. And of course, there's modeling. That's not something we talked about, but maybe this kid in kindergarten's father was knocking down his blocks. Who knows? Mother was
Yeah,
knocking down
yeah,
whatever, metaphorically, his blocks.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So, in other words, we're teaching, although it's hard to get this. It's easy to
Mhm.
get it intellectually, but it's
Yeah,
hard to really integrate it into our worldview. The character's not fixed, but emerges from causes and
right,
conditions.
right,
Um, and what we're getting at here is that modern behavioral science and Buddhist thought arrive at surprisingly similar conclusions here.
right. Right. They have similar conclusions. We study them. We meet every day to talk about conditionality. We look at it in our experience, but it is really easy to slide into believing people have a set character, especially when we're in the middle of something with somebody that seems like they have a set character, or we seem like we have a set character.
Yeah, and this is, of course, very potent within the political landscape we are currently living in. It's so hard for me, I'll just make this an I statement. When people have different political views than me, it's really hard for me to see how we might really overlap with some real other shared interests and concerns. I kind of so easily pigeonhole people.
Mm. Yeah, and it's interesting how easily it extends to something like when we eat differently or have different beliefs about what food is good for you or what your diet should consist of or what exercise is right. I mean, there's just so many ways we take up um, these issues as ourselves, as other people, and then we're in a divide, where we're in an opposite or against or for.
Right, right. Yes, it's quite a bit going on in the political landscape about vegans right now. And I'd say in Portland, the opposite's going on, a lot of negative characterizations of people who eat
Hmm.
meat and dairy.
Mhm,
So,
mhm, mhm.
it's loaded. But it really contradicts the teachings of anatta, this which is basically the teaching saying that this sense of self is fluid and changing.
Right. So we feel it's important to regularly remind ourselves about conditions. And Nelly came up with a slogan for us.
A bumper sticker, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah.
Conditions, not character. Because this teaching, again, is really hard to integrate into how we view situations in our lives. So shall
So
we end?
we'll
Yeah.
end, with that statement, and I'll ring the bells for us today.